My question is not about casting. I'm curious. We know the Reeves stuff with Batman is going to be separate from what you do in the DC universe with Batman. Do you think audiences? Do you ever think about our audience is going to follow that? Like that there are two separate Batman stories going on? Because I remember with the X-Men and then the Avengers, sometimes people would be like, wait, they can't cross over because Fox and Disney. There were people who didn't know that.
Yeah, but sometimes people. Was it causing anybody grief in any way?
No, I don't think so.
I think it's the same thing.
It's a good point.
I think that people are really starting to learn about stuff like that. Will it ever cause, one of the weirdest things for me is that big fans are often like, well, listen, I understand this, but normies will never understand this. Casuals will never understand this. But the truth is, guys, that you're the ones that don't understand. The casuals always understand. You can say, oh yeah, he's changed Peacemaker. They were, there was some Justice Gang, or Justice League was in that. Now it's the Justice Gang. And regular people who just like TV shows are like, oh, okay, that's weird. And then they're done. But the people who, really focus on this stuff
we
and
live
go
in
crazy
a bubble.
they're in our bubble.
Yeah.
And the people in our bubble think that everyone outside of that bubble is too stupid to understand nuance, and it is just totally not the case.
Yeah, well, I call it the Uber driver test. If a random person shows up to your door, will they understand it? And I'm like, well, maybe, but I guess it really doesn't matter that much. Yeah. Also, I want to thank you for getting peace.
No, Kirsty, I will not calm down. I am so triggered. Make me a cup of tea! Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I am Mick, your host with the most. Just ask Kirsty. I mean, your girlfriends, your wives, your boyfriends, and your husbands. A very warm welcome to me, from me, Mick. Meanness. Here at Movies TV Mad, and I'm triggered yet again. You can follow me on X Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad. X on Snapchat, BMouth60, and on TikTok, Mad Mickey's World. A very warm welcome to Saturday's edition of the DCU Daily. On the top of the show, pre-credits if you like, you listened to the voice of a man who knows nothing about the industry he works in, just like the rest of people in New Hollywood. I've told you before, my father worked with a studio in Hollywood. So I've been around the entertainment industry all my life. I've been around very famous actors, very famous directors, writers. I know them all. I still know them all. Some of them check in on me to find out how I am since I lost my father and my mother. Very nice. Some very lovely people in, in entertainment, modern day, like the older people who knew my parents and like their kids who are in the industry as well. So I know how the game is played. And back in the day when my dad was working for this studio, if you spoke the way they do about their audience, because they hate their audience, just as we heard from James Gunn in that audio I just played you, he was being interviewed by his puppet, Brandon Davis. Right? We'll get into it very shortly. They hate their customers, and they're not scared to say they hate their customers, right? You heard him. You just heard him say the big comic book fans who know everything about comic books, right? Because they read the shit out of it, right? They read every detail. They're obsessed. It's their lives. He basically said that I'm not a comic book reader, but I respect you. This channel is for comic book readers and people who love film, comic book film and TV as well. By the way, it's for everyone who loves entertainment, right? And wants to listen to someone who speaks their truth, not your truth, not the universal truth, but my own truth. The comments are open for you to give me your truth constructively. This is what we're here for. You're lovely people. You're not abusive. I'm not abusive. We're passionate people, and we want to hold people like James Gunn to account. He's a good, capable writer-director, as I've always said. I've enjoyed many, if not nearly everything that he's ever done, apart from Superman. But here's the thing. The way he just spoke about comic book fans is absolutely disgusting. He clearly got his puppet, Brandon Davis, to ask him a question about having two Batmen, because he's really scared now. Reeves is coming probably with the greatest movie of his career. Even though I'm concerned that Matt was forced to take out his Penguin storyline for the HBO Max streaming show, because streaming has to have content, right? I'm concerned about that could damage the film, because Matt obviously had to replace it with something. But Matt Reeves is a fucking genius. I love the Batman. I love his Apes movies. I love everything he's ever done. Matt Reeves is a genius. I don't care if you're a Snyder fan, a Gunn stan, Matt Reeves is a genius. Gunn is shitting himself, right? Because they're going to introduce a second Batman, right? That's what they're saying. So what he does here, he clearly, before they start shooting the interview, asked me this question about two Batmen. Asked me about the confusion. So what he's trying to do is distract you about confusion. It's not about being confused. But from the very opening line, he talks about big fans knowing less than normies. That's an irrational statement, James. But you see, this is why someone like James Gunn will never be interviewed by a man like me. Because, James, I would hold you to account. I wouldn't be sitting here promoting your shit. I'd be here asking you direct questions. I'd be very balanced and I'd be very fair. I'd talk about admiring you and also the negative points of your personality and the way you make films and how you've basically made the same film. You've made the same film every single fucking time. And then you can answer those questions. But you people in New Hollywood don't want to be challenged by someone like me. It doesn't matter that I've got 1.9k subscribers and I barely get 50 likes and 500 views. That doesn't matter. Because if you came on my channel, people would watch. It's not about making me successful. I don't need the money. I don't need the fame. I don't need to go viral. It's not about that. I love entertainment. I've lived and breathed entertainment all my life. I'm rewatching 24 right now. Seen it 1 billion times. It makes me cry. It compels me, right? Even after all this time. Because the people who made that show fucking cared. Kiefer Sutherland fucking cared. And these are the people, and with that type of mentality, we do not have in this industry. So this is why James Gunn would never be brave enough to be interviewed by a man like me. He would never respond to me. On Twitter, he responded to me once, ever, right? Busy guy, lots of responses, right? He can't respond to everyone, I get that. But he would never respond to an intelligent man like me making good, valid points, because I get the industry. I might get the industry more than he does. And I understand it's a consumer-based industry. So you don't slaughter your fans. The other day, yesterday, a fan was holding him to account constructively, saying, "You talk too much, mate. Maybe you should just get on with your job." How did Gunn respond? A typical response from someone who works in an insular echo chamber. "Thanks for the follow." A sarcastic response. Instead of saying, "I get you. I understand what you're saying, but this is just my way. I like to talk to people. I like to respond to people. I think it's very, I'm just a transparent, writer-director who likes to talk to people about what I'm doing." That would have been a better thing to do, James. Because if you worked in the industry when I was growing up, when my father was working in it, you and the people who treat your consumer like shit, who basically admit you hate your consumer and can't listen to constructive criticism, you would have been fired and blacklisted from this industry, right? Terry Saville at WB wouldn't have fucking let your feet touch the fucking ground, right? But you're all abusing your audience. The customer is always right. It doesn't matter how toxic they are. It doesn't matter what they're saying to your son. I used to work in retail when I was a very, very young boy for some spare change, right? In between trying to go to film school and drama school to raise some money. The shit customers said to me, right? "But they're paying my wages." We are paying your wages. We're keeping you in a job. You may think without us you've still got an industry, but as you can see, because no one's watching your shit anymore, any of your shits, not just you, because of the way you treat us, because of the authoritarian, extremist way you tell your stories, the transparent toxicity in your stories, like the flag with the Nazi SWAT sticker on it, like that. Nobody wants that, right? But anyway, let's get into this. Yeah, Kirsty, go and make the tea. I'm going to carry on. No, I don't care. I don't care. I'm pissed off, sweetheart. I love you, but I'm pissed off. My girlfriend's out for hours. Don't worry about it. Anyway, right. Let's get into this. Having two Batmen, James, is the dumbest idea ever. And you know it. But you guys insisted in coming from a failed franchise that the studio failed, not Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder was doing very well, thank you very much, until you lot interfered and got rid of him. So that, the DCEU failed, and you went, not you, but David Zaslav went, I know! A franchise, a connective universe is failed. Let's create a fucking another one. Fucking genius, right? Not. So they do. And it's failed before it's begun. It's a bit like your aeroplane not being able to take off. If an aeroplane can't fly, what's the fucking point in it? Nothing. There's no point driving around in a fucking aeroplane. It's got wings for a fucking reason, right? But instead of James Gunn and Saffron coming in and saying, Mr. Zaslav, we have experience in the industry, you don't. Another franchise isn't going to work. So this is my suggestion. I have my little corner with my Suicide Squad universe and Peacemaker and all of that. Let Zack Snyder continue what he was doing in his corner. Let's allow Matt Reeves to continue the Batman crime saga in another corner. What? Steven Spielberg, the great Steven Spielberg, wants to tell a little unknown story in the DC universe about an aeroplane pilot in World War II. Let him fucking do it in his corner! But no! No. And his defense of two Batmen not being confusing, let's not forget he's not seeing the same note on the same hymn sheet when it comes to Superman. He fired Henry Cavill. He cancelled Tyler Hoechling's Superman and Lois TV show. One of the best interpretations of that character because he was scared of the competition. It turns out that the guys who created Superman and Lois knew more about Superman than James Gunn. No shit, Sherlock. That was fucking obvious, wasn't it? Right? So it's apparently not confusing and fine to have two Batmen, but it's not fine to have more than one Superman. When his shills are telling you, well, you know, he had to cancel Henry Cavill. You can't have all these Supermen. It's confusing. But when it comes to having more than one Batman, it's not confusing. Normies don't know as much as comic book fans. You are talking shit, my friend. You are talking bullshit. None of your responses make any sense. You either sing out untruths or talk utter nonsense. You're not even honest. You're not even honest. You're too busy arguing with fans who don't like you or constructively criticise you or talk from an echo chamber. Because James Brandon Davis is an echo chamber. He's an extension of your new Hollywood echo chamber. As I say, you would never come here and face direct questions from a genuine fan so other fans could listen. Not toxicity. I would hold you to account. Go on YouTube Brian Walden. The late Brian Walden, who used to interview politicians, he held them to account. Go and YouTube him and you'll find out the way I would speak to you. But you know, you don't want to be challenged, do you? Because you know, an intelligent man like me, as I said earlier, would expose you. So having two Batmen is the dumbest idea ever. But because they decided to jump from one failed franchise to another, you have to have a Batman in a franchise, right? That's one thing that you do have. So you got Matt Reeves, the Batman, coming. They tried, because James Gunn didn't want two Batmen. Zaslav already said there won't be two Batmen. They begged, they tried everything to seduce Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson to the dark side of the Force, which is the DCU. Please merge with our universe. They said no, no, and no. Have you noticed how it went quiet on a second Batman until recently? Well, actually, conveniently, since Matt Reeves announced that the Batman 2 is going into development, he's pretty much finished his script, they're going into production next year, right? Funny how the conversation suddenly, again, started on a second Batman. So, Ironically, James Gunn didn't want a second Batman. He knew it would be confusing to normies, but because he's been forced into having to do a second Batman, he has to try and put down hardcore comic book fans, and no one's son is falling for it.